Numbers tell one kind of story. But words? Words often tell the deeper story. In research, it's tempting to focus only on percentages and charts. They're neat, they're easy, they look impressive in reports. But if you skip open-ended questions, you miss the voices, the emotions, and the hidden drivers behind those numbers. When most people design surveys, they stick to closed-ended questions, select from a list, rate on a scale, tick the box. That's fine for speed and analysis, but here's the catch: those formats can only show you what you already thought to ask. Open-ended questions are different. They let people speak in their own words. They capture motivations you didn't predict, frustrations you didn't consider, and even new ideas that might never have been on your radar. And sometimes, those unexpected answers end up being the most valuable insights of all. Let's break this down. What do open-ended questions actually give you? Motivations: they show why someone chose a product or dropped off at checkout. Emotions: words like frustrated, delighted, or disappointed reveal the feelings driving behavior. New themes: sometimes respondents bring up issues you never thought to ask about. Here's an example. Imagine your survey says 80% of customers are satisfied. Looks great, right? But then you check the open ends and see a recurring complaint about rude customer service. Suddenly, that satisfaction score means something very different. Think about a hotel survey. If you only ask, "How satisfied were you with your stay?" you'll get a number, maybe a 4 out of 5. But if you also ask, "What could we do to improve your next stay?" people might mention things like long check-in times, noisy hallways, or poor Wi-Fi. Another example, in product development, if you ask, "What feature would you add if you could?" customers often reveal pain points or innovations you never considered. I've personally seen projects pivot based on a single open-end insight that kept popping up again and again. Now, open ends aren't a free-for-all. If you just throw in vague prompts like any other comments, you'll get random noise. The trick is to use them strategically. Keep them focused. Ask, "What did you like least about this product?" instead of just any feedback. Place them smartly. Use them right after rating questions, so people can explain their scores. Don't overload. Too many open ends will exhaust your respondents and hurt quality. In other words, be intentional. A few targeted open ends placed in the right spots will deliver far more value than a dozen generic ones. And then comes the big question: what do you do with all those words? Because collecting them is one thing, but analyzing them is another. Here's how to handle it. Code responses into themes. Group similar answers into categories like price concerns or customer service. Look for emotional cues. Words like wish, angry, or love can signal strong drivers. Leverage tools. AI text analytics and sentiment analysis can now process thousands of responses quickly, surfacing themes and even highlighting emerging topics you might miss. And when you combine these qualitative themes with your quantitative data, you create a story that's both reliable and relatable. So here's the takeaway. Numbers tell you what is happening, but open-ended questions tell you why. They uncover motivations, emotions, and ideas you didn't even think to ask. That's why every good survey should include at least a few open ends. Without them, you're only seeing half the picture. With them, you get context, depth, and sometimes, the single insight that can change your entire strategy. This was another video in the Market Research and AMP Data Insights series. Keep learning, keep shining, and remember, the real story often lives in the words, not just the numbers.